Over the past 12 months, UK content creator Perri Karyal has more than quadrupled in her following. Why? Well, it's actually quite simple. She plays video games with her mind.
Technically, hell yeah, that counts, right?
So how did Perri even get here? How exactly does she do what she does, and what does it mean for the future of gaming? Innovation is at the heart of the gaming and esports industry. Whether it's how we make the games or how we play them, everyone is waiting for that next big thing. But rarely do we ever talk about the people behind the advancements. The ones who put in the hours, the ones who search for new paths and go further than ever before. The people that start with a simple idea, like, what if we didn't use controllers to play video games, but mind control? Meet Perri Karyal, a British-Canadian Twitch streamer with a master's in psychology and a knack for wacky projects involving the brain. Such projects include conversations on human psychology, experiments in fear, and most notably, playing video games with unusual peripherals. In January of 2023, Perri started going viral online for using different types of tech to game. Things like eye tracking, gyro, and most paramount, an EEG. But attaching electrodes to her head to play Elden Ring wasn't the original plan for Perri's streaming career. In fact, she got into content creation for a completely different reason.
So when I first started streaming, it was actually because I wanted to be a stand-up comedian, and at that time I was studying music, so it was completely so far removed from the stuff that I'm doing now. And I started playing games because that's what you do when you stream, and that's kind of the whole thing. But the reason why I do psychology-style gaming stuff now is because I was doing the random gaming, the Fall Guys and all of that stuff, and then I accidentally stumbled upon games like the Quantic Dream games and the Stanley Parable, and I sort of started thinking, hey, gaming can be really interesting and can kind of combine the interests that I have in psychology and in neuroscience, and okay, let's see where we can take this.
On top of having a music degree, Perri's master's in psychology focused on things like visual and auditory perception, with her eventual dissertation diving into how video games could potentially improve people's vision and recognition. And once these connections between her formal education and gaming grew stronger, Perri's streams took on a new identity. She began talking to her chat about topics in neuroscience and psychology, especially in relation to things like horror games and how fear can affect our brains. This eventually led to Perri incorporating an EEG. An EEG, or
electroencephalograms,
uses electrodes attached to the scalp to measure things like brain activity. And there's been plenty of uses in the greater medical field, from diagnosing epilepsy to sleep disorders. But Perri discovered that you can just straight up buy your own Bluetooth EEG headset charged by USB. And once she did, she had a novel idea. Hey, what if I showed people the effects on brain activity after a video game jump scare? And it was through that idea that Perri developed another idea.
I sort of just kept trying to push one step further. What can I do? And with these EEGs, these electroencephalograms, and these softwares, you can make it remember your pattern of brain activity. And of course, if you've done any sort of coding or anything like that, if you have a software that can record something and recognize something, and there's any sort of machine learning involved, you can have it so that it can keybind or be keybinded to something.
That something that Perri had in mind was controller inputs. If an EEG maps brain activity, could she teach software to pick up repeated brain signals as buttons on a controller to punch a tree in Minecraft or cast a spell in Elden Ring? Turns out the answer is yes. Although it took a lot of trial and error, Perri could eventually map out multiple buttons, and with the help of eye tracking and gyro controls to help with other tasks, she eventually was playing games with her mind.
It is mind control. Basically what it does is it's a bunch of these sensors that sit on your head, and it picks up your electrical activity from your brain, obviously. And then it remembers what your brain looks like when you're thinking about certain things. So every time you do something different, a pattern of brain activity appears. For example, one of mine is pushing something heavy forward. And you basically record you thinking about that for 10 seconds at a time, over and over and over and over again. And it remembers what your brain activity looks like. And then eventually, through machine learning, you can do that pattern of brain activity, and it goes, aha, oh, I know that. That picture that I'm seeing right now, that's you pushing something forward. So that's basically what I've done. I've taken a bunch of those visualizations. I've trained it to remember what that is.
Another really good example she gave me was healing in Elden Ring. You can't just think of the act itself because that can look like a billion different things. But if you thought of something super specific, like spinning a plate on a stick a foot in front of you, and you got really, really good at visualizing that, the same size plate, same speed, every single time, well, that could be your trigger for healing in Elden Ring. And this wasn't easy for Perri. As I mentioned, there was a ton of trial and error that led to hundreds upon hundreds of hours of thinking really hard about random shit. But it paid off. Every new input caused new issues, but eventually it started working really, really well. I mean, she went from left and right in Trackmania to beating Melania. It didn't stop there for Perri either. Over the course of 2023, she expanded her experiments to tons of other games, virtual reality, and even managing to get kills in FPS games. And this year, in just a month, Perri has been able to successfully play Super Smash Bros. Without the help of any supplementary peripherals, meaning literally just her mind. She even just mapped out how to play Palworlds in what she considers to be her most complete mind controller yet.
I'm going to hit this rock. Great, I'm gonna jump.
Now, when it comes to what's next for Perri, truly the sky's the limit. When we last spoke, Perri told me that she's continuing to push things even further, introducing new games and a ton of super secret tech projects that we can look forward to in the future, including an actual esports event using mind control. But what's coolest to me is that she's still striving to making this tech even more accessible so that one day anyone can use it. You see, what's most important to understand about Perri's story is that what she does isn't a novelty. Sure, seeing someone game without the use of any controller is pretty fucking cool, but the benefits in accessibility are nearly limitless. We tend to sometimes forget that not everyone can experience video games as a medium. Accessibility features get better every single day, but there's still a very long road ahead. So what Perri's working towards, removing the need for a controller and bringing awareness to the tech involved, has the potential to change the gaming landscape in ways that are hard to quantify. And honestly, I think that's pretty cool.
I think it could be such amazing things for accessibility. And like we say, it's really hard to stick a timeline on it. So potentially, like, hopefully soon, hopefully one day. And I always feel really happy, grateful to be able to just shine a little bit of a light on, oh, this is technology that's cool. And this is what you could do with it in gaming or in anything else, just to see if there's anyone out there who wants to, set up the research, give the funding to it, so that potentially we could develop something better that could be used for accessibility and other functions.
My favorite game to play with my mind, like in like a perfect world, I guess like maybe like if it's like truly limitless, I would say like Red Dead Redemption. I can just do Westworld. I mean, I'm sure if you ask like a million people, 85% of people would say like Grand Theft Auto or Red Dead Redemption.